Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast with your host, two-time defending ATV motocross national champion, Cody Jansen.
Am I on air? What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, and welcome to episode 54 of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, our Aonia review pod, presented by our title sponsor, CST Tires, available for purchase at shop.csttires.com. The racing this season has been nothing short of incredible, and Aonia Pass might have offered up the best racing yet. Casey Greek will join us to help break down all the action, from an in-depth look at the pro class to amateur racing and everything in between from Georgia. The man of the hour, the toast of the town, Jeffrey Rastrelli, will join us then to talk about his first pro class podium in over 2 years. Really looking forward to that. Some great conversations, stories, and insight is ahead in this episode, so let's get right to it. Thanks to our sponsors who are all on board with us tonight. CST Tires, go to shop.csttires.com. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Valvoline, Ssi Decals, DID Racing Chain, Nemura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, Fourworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bikes, Trikes and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Their clippers rock, their nose hair trimmer is amazing, and they have some brand new industry-leading products that just hit the market as well. Full disclosure, the new Lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped is my secret to keeping my beard perfect. This new electric trimmer is so nice that I've only been using it on my facial hair. Shh. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner. Get 20% off with free shipping by using code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. You will not be disappointed. Support all these great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out. Racing is heating up just like the weather, and we both know you need parts and gear. No matter what off-road gear or parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATVMC has you covered. So before you buy, click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner on our website to help us out in a major way. We can't thank you enough for that. Now, the 30-second board is up, it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys, here to help break down all the action from Aonia Pass. He's a bank of ATV racing knowledge and a listener favorite. Brought to you by CST Tires. Visit shop.csttires.com today to pick up a set of Pulse MXR tires and soft and standard compounds from Impact Solutions. Say hello to Mr. Casey Greek. What's up, Casey? Welcome back to Digging Deep.
Hey, Cody. Thanks for having me back. Doing this again. Just got back from Georgia and kind of got the holiday passes now and back to the grind here.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, Casey, but Aonia Pass might have been the best racing we've seen all year. And that's saying something because the racing has been incredible here in 2021.
Yeah, for sure. It was, man, the battles all over the track really. And then a lot of the amateur classes and stuff, that it just seemed like the competition just continued to grow and the classes are tighter and tighter. And the track there didn't disappoint. I mean, it was fast and it was brutally rough and had a lot of technical sides to it. So I think it kind of kept the racing pretty close and got to see some really good battles all through the weekend. Like WMX was really good. The A classes were phenomenal. It was just it was exciting all weekend.
Absolutely. Can't wait to break it all down. But before we jump into all of that, let's kick things off with the Impact Solutions Impact Moment segment, where we highlight something good and positive that's happening in ATV motocross. Casey, what do you have for an Impact Moment this week?
I'm going to go with, I actually had a friend of mine that was driving down. It's his son's second national.
Okay.
And he's driving down. So it starts off kind of bad. Their motorhome failed, had engine failure on the way down. He was about an hour and a half from the track, and just kind of word of mouth through a couple of friends real quick. We had a truck on its way to come pick up his trailer. And then we had another truck waiting for him when he got to the racetrack. So then he had a truck all weekend to go to the hotel. Like everyone just kind of jumped in and pitched in to just be involved and like make sure, someone that they didn't even know. It was just like, hey, I got a buddy his motorhome, but his trailer. My truck's here, but it ain't going to pull his trailer. Can you go get him? Like, can you drive an hour and a half, go get him, and then drive an hour and a half back with all his crap and his trailer and everything?
Sure.
And it was just like, without even blinking, like, people were like, yep, I'll go. And then we had another truck lined up for him when he got back. So then he had wheels for him and his family to be able to go back and forth to the hotel and, complete their weekend. So just, the banding of the brothers and the banding of the community is really just makes you sit back on Sunday night on the drive home and really think about how things come together and what people at the racetrack's willing to do for each other.
Absolutely. I think it's a testament, as we've said so many times here, that ATV motocross is just one big family. So I think we speak it all the time, but actions speak louder than words. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. So that's Casey Greek's Impact Solutions Impact Moment segment for this episode. And moving right along, then I want to get to the exciting moments that took place in Georgia on the track this past weekend, and starting with qualifying. The rundown was pretty typical. Hetrick, Wienen, Hogue, Bryce Ford, and Jeffrey Rastrelli rounded out the top five. But what stood out to me was the friskiness of Chad Wienen there. Joel has been dominant in time qualifying this year, as he's been throughout the entirety of his career. But this weekend, it was a slugfest between Chad and Joel at the top there. Joel had it. Chad took it away. Joel grabbed the pole back. Only 0.2 separated those two guys at the top at the end of the second qualifier. And that was pretty fun to see.
Yeah, it was. And it was like standing in the mechanics area, and we're all, checking lap times, and, everyone's kind of trying to keep everyone up to date. And I see Joel, on a hot one. So I'm like, okay, let's see what he does. And I think he run a 50, like a real low 51. And I'm like, okay, and I don't even remember the times from last year.
Yep.
And then like Chad put it in like the mid 50s, and I'm like, man, and they already looked like they were going so fast. I'm just like, no, they're not going to go any faster than this. There's no way.
Right.
And then like Joel topped that. And so it's exactly like what you said there. Like, it's just one after another. And I'm like, you guys can't go any faster. It's just mind blowing where they've elevated this to. And then even, Brandon Hogue and Bryce Ford were kind of doing the same thing. They're duking it out. Rastrelli's trying to throw his hat in there. So it definitely kept qualifying. This is just the first qualifier, and then we went into the second one, and they kind of did the same thing. And finally Joel kind of put a point on it, but man, they were just so tight. And I'm like, how are you guys going to go any faster than that? So going into the motos, I didn't think they were going to go any faster than and they end up running their fastest lap times of the race during the first moto.
Yeah. Yep. I saw that. So they even took it to another level there. It was much like a title fight, like you said. I mean, slugging each other back and forth, which is cool to see. We haven't really seen a ton of that yet this year. So you touched on it a little bit. Tell us about the track, Casey. Kind of paint the picture for people. Seemed pretty typical Aonia Pass. Last year, I thought the track was really, really good. It kind of had a little bit of everything. Same layout as last year, it seemed like, but there was some slick spots, some dry slick stuff, some rough spots, wet spots. That was a topic of conversation. How was the track from your perspective? You touched on it a little bit, but I think it was a really good racetrack there.
Yeah, I think the track was good. For the most part, Friday, it got really choppy, like a lot of potholes, and that trend continued throughout the weekend. And it seemed like, they have a lot of mulch dug into that track, and then there's some sand and almost some, a lot of clay too. So the way it kind of breaks down is I feel like the mulch kind of piles into smaller sections. And then it gets blown apart, and then you end up with asphalt, potholes. That's the easiest way I could describe it to people. And, a lot of times I can see people coming down a straightaway, or, they have that, their famous big roller right there in the front of on the front of the motocross track there. And you can see handlebars drop going. And so it's you're hitting a pothole in your car. Which made it, technical, because you had to be on your toes all the time. And then just the pace alone of the track was really, really fast. And I think it was faster than last year. Last year, it got choppy, still some of the same pothole kind of stuff. The dirt's not going to change that much in from year to year. But it had more rough to it last year than this year, where it slowed it down. This year, it was still very rough, but it was like they didn't care. And so I don't know if that's a change, like of just these guys are going that much faster. But even in the amateur classes, I felt like, man, like they're going so fast. And then, the huge straightaway down the back with the rollers that started that section off, I think were some of the best rollers I've seen at any track. And there was very like 3 to 4 different lines that you could go through it that were similar in speed. If you nailed your line, you could pull 2 bike lengths on someone if they made one little mistake, either coming in or midway through. Max, he had a rough go at the rollers, one lap. Other than that, he was like phenomenal through them, watching all qualifying. And then in the first moto, he had a big one through there.
Yeah.
So yeah, track was great. Hospitality was really great. If you guys didn't make it, that's one that, you got to keep on the map for next year. I know this year was a holiday and graduations and stuff are going on, but I think the hospitality is number one when we go to these facilities and how they treat us, and they do a great job there.
Yeah, you can tell. And I remember back to last year, obviously the track was good. I love that whoop section. And, we need more tracks with whoop sections like that. But I remember back to last year, the hospitality of them having us. We had Tim Cotter, on the show live from the track there. So a lot of good stuff. Love to go to places that love having us. Before we get to the racing, want to touch on this because never got to ask you this before, but as a suspension guy, Casey, how do you feel about the mulch situation? I feel like that doesn't help your job at all, because mulch is a whole different beast, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. And it doesn't help your job when it's the first race of the year. Like last year was way more stressful than this year.
Right.
Like I just felt like, the guys that this is sound terrible, but like some guys that weren't quite prepared, or maybe had just been riding in the sand like all winter, and then they got there and there was hard dirt, and then there was the mulch, and it was actually really rough.
Yep.
Last year was tougher on me than this year. Most of my guys, I felt like, were pretty happy throughout the whole weekend, just a couple of minor adjustments. So I kind of go into it with the mindset of already being prepared for certain things. And then when it goes better than expected, it makes it better for me. But, we're going to try to tackle anything that's thrown at us. So it's all good.
The reason why I asked is because I feel like from time to time, depending on how the mulch how it breaks down in the racetrack or whatever, where it gets piled up, or however you want to put it. But mulch can be unnatural at times, I feel like, if it gets piled up. So that's the only reason why I asked. Okay, let's get to the racing then. Stop me if you heard this before. But Joel leads this thing wire to wire in Moto 1, grabbing another Moto victory. Chad kept him within 4 seconds for the whole 20+2. So that was solid from him. Those guys were flying, obviously. 30 seconds over third place by the end of it. Talk about the front two there. That was a good ride from both of those guys. We haven't really seen a ton of that either, where Chad was able to come out, kind of towards the front of the pack and have those guys kind of ride together. I know they didn't dice it up, but to see those guys riding at the front of the pack, we haven't seen a ton of that. It's like Chad's been coming through the pack this year. This is kind of the first time we've seen that.
Yeah. It was a nail biter, really. Any small mistake by either one of them was going to cost them big.
Yes.
And they did distance themselves from third and fourth, fifth and sixth were all together for 90% of the moto. And so they got away from that pack real quick, and so it's just kind of them out there doing their thing.
Yep.
Sort of a boring race because they weren't really trying to challenge each other much. It was just kind of like if one made a mistake, and then I think they both kind of figured later in the moto, say 3/4 the way through the moto, Chad kind of is like, okay, let's reserve some energy. Joel can pick up on that pretty quick. Chad's starting to conserve, he wants to try to get the second moto handled, so then he can at least even points with me. So then Joel kind of backs off, and so then the gap, they just kind of paced each other the rest of the race going in. And, you know, the exciting part was honestly the battle for third place.
Yeah.
I mean, and I say a battle for third, but I mean, if you were in third one corner, you could be in sixth the second corner,
Exactly.
or the next corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really the impressive part, was those guys.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was interesting because we've heard so many people talking about where Joel and Chad would probably stack up with each other if they came out together. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. It's not like Chad's, you know, so far off the pace that, you know, Joel's just going to check out on him at this point. But you're exactly right. That battle behind them was really the one to watch. That third spot went to Wesley Wolf, but Bryce Ford was third for most of the moto. Really, Jeffrey grabbed it briefly before making a mistake and going off the track there. But ultimately Wesley sneaks by Bryce with a corner to go, and what I'd call a controversial move. You were part of the broadcast team, and I could tell by your voice that it must've been iffy. I've seen multiple videos, multiple angles at this point, kind of confirming that. So tell me what you saw there between Wesley Wolf and Bryce Ford at the conclusion of Moto 1 for the people that didn't see it.
I mean, Wesley was crafty, you know, and I seen him use the line earlier in the moto. He actually passed Janusa in the same spot. And from the angle that I was at, and it was the same thing I told everyone. From the angle I was at, I couldn't tell you where the track started and stopped. So I couldn't tell you if he was doing anything wrong. And the ruling come back, and he was right, and he didn't do anything wrong. So he was crafty, and he snuck by there. And you know, Bryce did the right thing. Bryce protected the inside. Bryce had a different opinion. He felt like, you know, Wesley was off the track. So that's to be settled by them and the referees. You know, I'm very thankful that I don't have to be a part of that committee, because, man, those are some hard decisions. And, you know, at times, you know, you're trying to balance both worlds. And so hats off to Harv. You know, he had to do a tough job there and correct, you know, and, you know, the next moto, there was some hay bales there, but it still sort of left the majority of the line that Wesley used open. So that tells me again that Wesley was in the right in that, you know, in the move that he made. And, you know, good for him. I mean, Wesley rode awesome. I mean, to give credit where credit's due, the dude, he come from like 6th or 7th. And worked his way through and just really, really looked good and was on a rail that first moto for sure.
Yeah, the most impressive things that we've seen from that group there are when a guy can come from the back and kind of race through that group. We saw Brandon do it at the last race. We saw shades of Jeffrey do it, and we saw Wesley do it here. That's really impressive to me. The first thing that so I see these clips. I heard your audio. I see the clips of this pass, and the first thing I think of is GNCC. I think of XC, the background that Wesley Wolf has, and he's going to be thinking outside the box. If there's not a marker there, making it clear and obvious, he's going to push that limit. And I think that's credit to his background. And I mean, he comes out third in that moto.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, Bryce wasn't happy. You know, Jeffrey had made the move from like 5th into 3rd.
Yep.
And ended up getting around Bryce, and then him and Bryce just barely bumped. And it was just enough that it wasn't like there was nowhere for either one of them to go. They were both drag racing in the corner.
Sure.
And it pushed Jeffrey out into like the soft stuff just enough to where it grabbed his right front tire and kind of, you know, yanked him off the track. And that opened the door that, you know, all the work that he had just done just went out the window. So he had to start from scratch again. And so on paper, you know, his moto was 5th, but in reality, like, he was in the battle for 3rd the entire race. And the same thing for Bryce. Bryce held that position for most of the race, you know, very contested at, you know, certain times. Janusa was, you know, fighting in there too. Before Max had to get off back in the rollers, he was in there fighting with those guys too. So, you know, hats off to Bryce, like fending them guys off, and just Wesley just stuck it in there right at the right time and then protected the inside of the finish line corner. and it was done and over with at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, those battles between those guys have been so fun to watch. Like you said, Wesley grabs the top 3 spot there. Bryce came in 4th. Jeffrey rounded up the top 5, battling, that 3rd, 4th, 5th battle there was crazy. Janusa ended up 6th, and Hogue 7th, who I believe was hindered by some sort of bike problem there. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know what had went on, whether it was like something got on his air filter or something. Not 100% sure.
Okay.
I know they corrected it for the second moto, and he didn't have any, hindrance there.
Okay.
But yeah, he was right in the thick too. I mean, he was right there with them guys. They were all battling, jockeying, taking different lines, bumping, grinding. Like, it was crazy. 4 or 5 guys just right there. And then I see them just kind of like start fading back, and it wasn't making sense. But there I was in the announcing tower, and it's kind of all like a capsule, of glass. So you really can't hear how the bikes are running or what is really going on outside of that. So you're just kind of watching, but he was still jumping jumps and like doing things. So I'm just like, I was lost until I got back over to his trailer and talked to him. And he said, he had a small issue, and, it was already corrected in that, that TDR group. They were getting him back on the right track, and he was going to be ready for the second moto.
Yeah, for sure. So I knew something had to be going on as I'm watching him just lose touch with those guys just a little bit, because he was my fantasy pick for the day there in tier 2. And it was really, I mean, he was, coming off a podium, obviously great ride there. He was coming off being really solid in qualifying. And in my mind, Brandon's so strong at the end of the races, at the end of the motos, I'm thinking he's, one of those guys that's got an advantage there. So I figured something had to have been going on there. And then he kind of confirmed that with us after the races. So let's move on to Moto 2 then. And the fireworks started early. Chad Wienen bumps tires with Joel Hetrick in the first corner, and Chad goes for a ride, crosses the line backwards, basically, ends up flipping with Cody Ford. What did you see there, Casey? I don't know if you saw it from the tower, but there's plenty of videos out there at this point. I heard people saying watering may have been a factor there in that first turn melee.
I think manhood was a factor a bit. Neither one of those guys was going to lift.
Okay.
I did talk to Chad just briefly. I shook his hand and told him, awesome ride, and I'm glad you're okay. Like, because that deal could have went really, really bad in a hurry. Brandon Hogue ended up. So just going back to the very start of what possibly went wrong there. I mean, we'll never know, but I think it comes down to an ego contest where neither one of those guys want to lift. And then maybe it was a little bit slick, and Chad kind of slid up into Joel, and, they jumped tires.
Yep.
And then Chad, just having like his strength and pure size, countered that bike to where all that actually had happened is it just slid out and spun around. And then, poor Brandon, here he has nowhere to go. So he smacks him. Something had happened to Cody and sent him over towards the inside. And then he ends up hitting Chad again. And that's when it really, Cody got stopped enough to where it didn't do any kind of like massive damage or to a full explosion of eruption of both riders. They both ended up on the ground. Cody got back up safe. I just feel like Cody at times is just getting devoured into some weird situations on the start. So I feel terrible for him.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of like over there by himself, and then bam, there's Chad right in front of him. Like nowhere to go, nothing he could do. Chad got very lucky. He was very close to the pond, and going into the pond backwards would have been, at least if he went in forward, he's seen it coming. At this point, he was just trying to get the machine stopped and under control, and all of a sudden he would have been wet. So the way it shook down, best case scenario for Chad, or for anyone in that case, like just plain and simple, like it could have been so much worse. And it went well for the circumstances. I mean, Brandon could have hit him way harder, because those guys are reacting so fast. But yeah, I've watched 3 or 4 different videos, and every time I'm just mind blown on how, if you watch the slow motion one, I think maybe Gloop did or Tremelin did, they slowed it way down, and you see the posture of Chad change like he's already predicting what way the bike was going. And I think that's a testament to the natural ability and, talent that these guys at this top level have to be able to do that. I would have just like flung ragdolled and hooked the front tire, like just, it could have went so much worse.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else to say about that.
Right. I mean, obviously glad everyone was okay. Everybody got away from it, pretty unscathed. But like you said, 99% of people there don't slide and end up backwards. They hook and they ragdoll, like you said.
Flip. Yeah.
99% of people, that's what's happening. So credit to him. Ended up being a legendary ride, really one that I think that we'll remember for a while. I saw people saying that I saw a small group of people, but a group of people, multiple different people, saying that it looked like some kind of takeout move or whatever from Chad. And in my opinion, that's simply an idiotic take. These guys have been racing each other. These guys have been racing each other for a decade. When's the last time you saw something like that? I think it'd probably date back to that racetrack a decade ago where you even have any argument there. And simply put, this is just what happens when you bump tires in open wheel racing, right? Like this is what happens when you bump tires, open wheel racing, plain and simple.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And you bring the water in effect. Mm-hmm. So, his line where his eyes were pointed were about 6 inches away of, actually making contact. And then, just so many little things can change. But I mean, Chad's no dummy. Like he's not going to hit Joel open wheel to open wheel going that fast. I mean, you guys got to understand how fast they were going at that point. And Joel, the same thing. You don't take someone out on the start because you're literally going as fast as you can possibly go. If you're going to put a block pass on someone or, even, and stuff somebody, you're going to do it in a corner where the speed has come down. Mm-hmm. Like just for the sheer fact of safety for yourself. If you're taking all like respect for the other guy out of the equation, you're still going to think about yourself first. And if you hit like that, it's not going to end good for anyone. Joel just had about 6 inches more on him and it spit Joel out perfect. Like almost didn't even slow him down much. And I mean, it couldn't have spit Chad out any more perfect for this circumstance.
Right.
It was definitely not perfect.
And I say this in two-wheel racing and supercross, motocross, obviously ATV motocross, all these things. There's no such thing as a takeout move in the first corner. Like things happen so fast in a whole shot thing. I mean, there's just no such thing.
No, it just doesn't happen. And you can't. I mean, you're literally just trying to survive through the first corner.
Exactly.
Like even like looking at some of the video or in some of the pictures, like Joel is literally looking back.
Yes.
Watching what is going on. And I'm sure he's watching it in disbelief.
Like holy shit. Yeah.
I didn't even want to talk to him about it. Like, he wasn't upset about it, but I didn't want to like continue to bring it up because I know so many people are gonna, so I didn't even really say nothing. I was just like,
right.
His first turn was crazy. And he's like, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. And we just moved on from there. Mm-hmm. And then getting to see the pictures and, he's just looking, Brandon Hogue's looking back like, and I still can't process how those guys are looking back, but they're still going as fast as they are at that point. Like, I'd just be white knuckled and, big eyed going straight. Like, okay, well, we'll see what happens when I get around the next corner or something.
Right. Well, I feel like that is kind of a testament to how crazy that happening was. Okay, but back up front, it's your guys flying in formation, Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli 1 and 2, and Jeffrey announced to the ATV racing world that he's back there. It was really a dream ride for the Phoenix team, and Jeffrey clung to Joel for a long time in that second moto. Looked like a photo shoot for a long time. They were close enough. It was like a day at the practice track with those two. But I was really impressed. I mean, Jeffrey kept pace with Joel for a long time.
Yeah, no, Jeffrey was riding awesome. I mean, even in qualifying, like his qualifying time wasn't, up there with Joel and Chad's, but he looked good all day long. And, his attitude was, fantastic all day long. And, he got into position there. He got a good start that he's been needing. And he just latched on with Joel, and those guys just took off. I mean, they were just rolling. And, Joel kept checking over his shoulder, like for, like the first couple jumps, like, oh, okay, that is Jeffrey. All right, cool. Let's go. Like, we're safe together. Like, we can go do this. And, I think Jeffrey wanted to prove to himself, hey, I got the speed to run with Joel. So I'm going to get as close to him and try to get as big a gap as I can get and go right now. And I think that's what ultimately, ended up getting him into the position that he ended up finishing second that moto. If he would have relaxed and just said, okay, I'm going to cruise this thing and not sprint with Joel right now, we might have seen a different outcome possibly late in that moto. But, Jeffrey really showed how seasoned veteran he is by, using his racecraft that entire moto, and even all the way down to, the famous last corner that we're going to get to.
Yeah. In that class right now, Casey, I mean, you have to sprint, there is no cruising and you're going to get a good finish there. That's not how that works right now with how stacked that class is. So there was a bunch of great racing going on in this one. But insert motivated Chad Wienen charging to the front from that melee that we just talked about. He put on a legendary performance, really gets all the way up to the back of Jeffrey. And this was huge because if Jeffrey holds Chad off, Jeffrey is on the box. But if Chad gets by, Wesley will end up in that third overall spot. So after 25 minutes, Jeffrey had to earn it in that final corner of the day there.
Yeah. And just the way it went down, I mean, Jeffrey was trying to do everything he could to hang on to it because he had to end up on the box. And, he's also, that's the reason, if Chad would have got by him, then Joel would be 1 point down right now instead of 1 point up right now. Yep. So, all that stuff was going on. And, luckily Jeffrey has been in a podium position before, so he don't crumble under pressure of whoever it is. And he's raced, hard against Chad at, multiple races and over multiple years. So he was, right there. And he protected the inside in the second to last corner, and which was scary because Chad railed the outside and it set Chad up for the inside. And I think Jeffrey just kind of went into that final corner just knowing that Chad was going to come in as hot as possible. And so it's just more about holding the clutch and not letting the bike stall and just, kind of preparing for impact. And Chad didn't do anything that no one else would do. I mean, he put it on him, he bumped him, but this is paychecks that we're racing for here. This isn't, Skittles. Like, they're going for it. And as soon as they bumped, they kind of both come to a complete stop, and it looked like they were, at first I thought they were really tangled up, and I was like, oh boy, like this might have just went bad for both of them.
Right.
And Jeffrey popped the clutch and, just rode the clutch out of that thing. And I seen him come away about 2 foot before Chad started moving. And I was like, oh, he's got it. Like, there's nothing that can be done from there. He comes over the roller all sideways, just in full panic just to get to that checkered flag. And he ends up securing that second position. And, Chad did what he had to do. I mean, you had to make that last attempt, that last effort to give him a nudge to get out and get that position. And Jeffrey's racecraft paid off for him right there.
For sure.
It was good.
So I was worried. And like you said, I mean, Jeffrey's been in this position an array of times. I was just worried. I'm like, man, don't let him get this close and then not get the podium. And I was worried that, I mean, there might have been a little pressure because it has been 2 years since we've seen him up there. I hope that he wasn't feeling that pressure in that moment, but he fought his ass off for it. Jeffrey did what he had to do to earn himself that podium spot there on the day. This was his 20th career pro class podium, something that we kind of been pumping up here on the shows. And this was his first podium finish in 763 days since Ironman 2019, like I said. So Jeffrey was emotional after that one. I was fist pumping about this. I was so pumped, loved to see it. And like you said, I mean, he had to work damn hard to get that one right there. And I'm sure it made it that much more special for him.
Yeah. And then, like, being a team guy for, most of my career in this sport, I think it was just incredible for the whole Phoenix Racing team in general. Those guys busted their butts in between motos and, got these bikes just spot on. And so when you get two guys on the podium, I've been through that before, and it's just so rewarding, because your one mechanic is, one rider, But at the end of the day, when we're all back in the shop, it's all still a team. And, the teamwork that goes in with these guys all week long is incredible. And so to get both guys on the podium, Jeffrey's first podium in the last couple of years, I think the biggest reward is obviously for Jeffrey to be there, and then for the team itself, and Phoenix Racing and David Allred and all those guys. I think Saturday night was a night that they could sleep easy.
Oh, I'm sure. Stoked to talk to Jeffrey. We're going to have him on the show here shortly. Stoked to talk about that, but I'm sure it does really legitimize everything that Phoenix Racing is doing, all that team, all you guys that work so hard for these guys. It probably really legitimizes it. And it's awesome. Not a ton of team stuff in this sport necessarily, but that is definitely one of them. And, it's got to be exciting for you to enjoy that with those guys. So let's go down the overall results sheet here. Like we talked about, Joel Hetrick 1-1 on the day, another perfect day for him. Chad Wienen salvages that first Moto first corner situation there in Moto 2 for second overall, 2-3 on the day. Jeffrey Rastrelli, hard fought third overall there for him. Wesley Wolf ties in points with Jeffrey, but ends up fourth overall. Bryce Ford, top fives on the weekend, fifth overall for him. That's actually his second best overall finish of the season so far. He's third in points now, standing alone third in points for Bryce Ford there. Brandon Hogue coming off his podium at High Point. He's sixth overall on the day. Kind of had to overcome some hurdles there, but still salvaged a solid day. Nick Janusa ended up seventh overall. And Death Taxes and Logan Stanfield finishing solid. He ended up another eighth overall on the day for him. Top tier 3 rider in our ATV Fantasy League. Another great ride for Logan. And Cody Ford, another top 10 performance for him. He was ninth overall, really solid there for Cody. Good to see him kind of rounding back to form that we've seen in the last couple of years for him. Cesar Heminez, top 10. Welcome to the top 10, Cesar Heminez, first top 10 of his career. Congrats to him. Solid day for him there. Vince Merman ended up 11th overall. I think that's another Impact Solutions rider there. And I think that's a guy, 11th overall on the day for him. He's kind of rounding himself into form, racing himself into form here after that injury at the opener. But Casey, I think Vince Merman is a guy that could surely be a top of his tier rider as we go forward here. I think that's a guy to watch.
Yeah, Vince looks good, and it's just getting rid of those rookie jitters, and he had quite a bit of time off there, so. I think getting himself back into shape, I think he's going to end up being, very competitive and being a top 10 guy in no time.
I think so too. Michael Allred, he ended up 12th overall on the day. 13th overall was Michael Perkins. Vitek Nikenyak ended up 14th overall. Looked like he had a little tough luck on the day there. Marshall Smith, 45-year-old Marshall Smith ended up 15th overall. Zach Harris, 16th overall. Casey, I think you're working with those guys now, huh?
That's what it sounds like. Actually been talking to Zach a little bit today, and I talked to him on Saturday night, and we kind of, worked out a deal that we're going to start doing some stuff together and try to get, his program headed in the right direction. So should be good.
Yeah. Source told me that they've been struggling with some things, and they knew where to go for the help. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's going to be good. Him and his dad, super nice guys. I don't know them well. Like I feel like I was raised with pretty much everyone else in this industry.
Right.
And, they had been out of the national scene for a couple of years now. And so it's going to be good. Like I said, I talked to him today a little bit, talked to him Saturday night, and we're probably going to get together sometime next week and do some tuning on his bike and set some stuff up for him. So I'm excited about that. I want to see, I know they have very high hopes in, where they feel like they can perform. And, I believe in it, and until I get proven wrong. So I'm going to stand behind them and help them out.
Yeah, that's what I think that you and I and a lot of people out there don't really know much about Zach Harris. But my sources told me that, they're expecting more than what they've got so far. And like I said, they knew where to go. Obviously you, Casey, Impact Solutions, they knew where to go to try to help better their program. So he was 16th overall, looking to improve going forward. And 17th overall was Max Lindquist. He had that get off that we touched on in the first moto. Sounded like he had a mechanical in the second moto. But that's another guy that we're going to want to watch going forward, especially as we head to Sunset Ridge. So Casey, after his wreck at the season opener, followed by 3 consecutive overall victories, Joel Hetrick now has a 1-point advantage over Chad Wienen. My question for you is, will Joel Hetrick hold the red plate the rest of the way?
Oof. Oh, man. I think so. We're going into Walnut, and, going off of history, Chad always has been, I don't want to say dominant, because like last year they split motos there. Most of the time Joel can usually squeak out a moto win, but I truly think with the form that Joel's in this year and the confidence that Joel has rolling in his way right now,
yep.
The exclamation point for him would be to beat Chad Wienen, both motos at Walnut or Sunset Ridge.
Yep.
So going from comparing Texas last year to Texas this year, I think Joel has a good chance at that. Obviously, I never count out Chad Wienen. Like, the dude is just the diesel. I'm gonna kind of bow out a little bit on that. If he can hold it or not, I mean, I know what I truly feel, and I truly think he can. But I don't want to jinx nothing there.
No.
I want to play as safe as possible with that question.
No, I totally understand. More than anything, I wanted to be able to touch on what we expect at Walnut at Sunset Ridge, because yes, it's Chad's home track there, but notoriously, or what's become typical from this race, like you said, is kind of a split. That seems to have been the norm the last handful of years. Doesn't really look like Joel gives anything up there. A lot of times maybe Joel comes out with the first moto win, and then maybe it gets a little gnarlier in the second moto, and Chad's able to use that to his advantage. But Joel has ranted and raved about the rear end setup on that Yamaha, and I think that could very much end up being an advantage there as the track gets rougher at Sunset Ridge. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, like you said, there's a lot of people, when I posted about Joel now having the points lead, and people acted like it was expected, even though he was a lot of points down not that long ago. Yeah. People acted like it was expected. So I really want to draw attention to the fact that he made up a ton of ground and not a whole lot of time. And that's impressive when you're racing against Chad in this stacked class of pros. Jeffrey Rastrelli claimed his 20th career podium, just like we talked about. We got him coming up on the show. This was his first in over 2 seasons. With 6 races remaining in 2021, how many podiums does Jeffrey get the rest of the way?
I think we see him up there quite a few times. So there's 6 races left. I'll just go on like the middle road. I'll just say 3 and hope he proves me wrong.
I would think, Casey, if you see him get up there 3 more times, he's probably third in points.
Yeah, I think that's gonna round out his consistency pretty heavy right there. But he needs not these 5 2s. He needs 3 3s or 3 2s or 4 3s, or to start moving those points up there. I mean, with Max having such a devastating weekend in a sense, I'm just glad he's okay.
Me too.
From the big get off that he had there, and a surprise, failure in the second moto, which is way out of the ordinary for any of that program over there. So,
yep.
He's going to rebound well. He's going to do really well at Sunset. That's definitely, pretty much like not a home track to him, but a track that's fairly close and something that he's comfortable with. So he's going to do good. And I think we're going to see, Bryce continue to improve. So it's not going to be easy. And I think Janusa had a bad weekend. I think reports were stomach cramps.
Oh, okay.
And he wasn't real sure what was going on. He had tried to fix it and didn't really realize he had a problem until midway through the first moto. So I think we're going to see him bounce back and get in there. And I think with the style of track that he rides on, up in New Jersey, he's going to be another one that we're going to see turn it back on. So few guys are looking for redemption. Jeffrey feels like he's got his redemption now. And so now he's the target that has got to hold on to that spot. So, yeah, third overall in points is going to be tough. It really is.
Hey, that group of riders is must watch each and every moto that we've been out this season. You're a gambler, but I won't ask you who you're going to put your money on for that third place spot. But it does really seem like you just said it seems relatively up for grabs. I mean, we're nearly at the halfway point of this thing. And only 11 points separate third through seventh. And like you said, Max was right in that pack, and he's kind of looming right there behind it now after a weekend where he only got 10 points at Aonia Pass. But it's hard to believe we're almost halfway through this thing, and it's really up for grabs. So can we talk about Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy for a second? You never got your picks in. What the heck,
dude? Just pitiful.
I'm searching the results as we're prepping for this here. And I'm like, did that MFer not even get them in? And sure enough, there's Casey Greek with 0 points.
Yeah, that was, I had kind of forgot my password or something happened, and I clicked on the wrong link or did something, and I couldn't get it. And I was like right in the middle of doing 10,000 different things. And when I was driving down on Thursday,
you could have texted me. You could have texted me and I could have figured it out for you.
See, and I almost did, but I felt like that was unfair.
No, I could have
to the rest of the world.
Because I had a number of people saying, "Hey, I'm on a flight." Like, I try to help everybody, right? Yeah. I want everybody to get their picks in, but go on.
So normally, even with like another fantasy league that I play, on the dirt bike side of things, I'll go and set my team way before the weekend, just so at least I have a team no matter what.
Me too.
And I was driving down and I was like, I need to go on and set my team and just have something set, and so that I don't forget or I don't get caught up into something. And here I find myself at like 12:15, panicking, trying to figure it out, can't figure it out. People are calling me in the middle of like, why I'm trying to figure it out. And I just threw my hands up. I'm like, I'm terrible anyways, so what's a 0 going to do to me? It knocked me down like 30 spots, so it wasn't that bad.
So not like you had too much going on, right? You got, your pros to take care of, your amateurs to take care of, you're commentating the races, but you didn't have much going on. So, thanks to all the listeners who are actually playing with us. Obviously kidding there. Hopefully we get you back on for Sunset Ridge. But wanting to touch on a few more topics before we get to the man of the hour, Jeffrey Rastrelli. On Sunday, it sounded like some great racing in pro stock. All the dramas died down a little bit there. And Joel and Chad split motos with Joel grabbing the overall, right?
Yeah. This is going to be something that we see every weekend, every race. I think those guys are so close on them stock bikes that it's, I truly think it was almost who come down to who got the start. And Joel said in the first moto, like he had to back out or he would end up wrecking both of them. And so, he made the right decision. So going back to these guys aren't trying to take each other out on the start.
Right.
Like he literally, backed off a little bit and ended up giving it to Chad. And he stayed right on Chad's grab bar the entire moto, second moto, vice versa. Joel pulls the whole shot. Chad just glued to him. They're just, you can't even barely separate them. One of the coolest things that I've seen, and Harv Whipple, the A-man official, was sitting in front of me, and I said, watch this back there in the rollers. I said, you're going to witness history right now. Someone's pulling Chad through the rollers. And obviously I'm just saying someone, but it was Joel.
Right.
He was pulling him in the back rollers. And I think it was mainly a line selection difference, but that's how close those guys are. And, but then Chad would pull him into, he would pull back up on him at the end of that back straightaway with the jumps.
Sure. Yep.
Rodney had about 1,000 different names for it, but when they get to that other end, the gap would be the same. But when they would come through the rollers, Joel would pull almost 2 bike lengths every lap. And I was just tickled to death. And Harv's like, you should be ecstatic. That's your shock. And I'm like, oh, I'm ecstatic. Like, there's no doubt. I'm like, but it's just, we're just always really, just because a statue in general, just the height difference between the two, their capabilities are massively, insanely close. How good each one can do so many things that suit the other one, and so on and so forth. And rollers have always suited Chad. I mean, I've always, when we raced against Chad when it was Natalie, like, he's 6 inches shorter. Joel's 6 inches shorter. So rollers was his thing all the time. And so to see that, it was really cool. Dude, they're going so fast. The track was obviously a little bit smoother on Sunday. It seemed like it was a faster track, all around, but their lap times were almost matching their pro race lap times on Saturday. And that's just phenomenal and speaks volumes for the machines, speaks volumes for the riders. Yes, the track is different on Sunday, but the layout's the same and the lines are pretty close to the same.
Yep.
It just wasn't quite as choppy and rough as it was on Saturday. Still, to be able to do that, it's phenomenal.
It's crazy what those guys can do. That's always my argument is those guys are doing just about the speed that they're doing on their pro bikes on those stockers, which is amazing. So the incredible racing continues there, and it's really cool. It's really fun. It's a great thing that on Sunday we're still able to watch those battles against the world's best. That's pretty special. And then to do it on stock machines is that much cooler. So Nick Janusa joined that duo on the podium in pro stock. Touching on a couple more stuff here. Andrea Berger wins WMX once again. Stoked for her. Pro-Am. Here we go again. Bryce Ford, a teenager, mind you, enters the Pro-Am class, and everyone loses their freaking mind. Bryce goes 1-1. Zach Decker seemed to keep him relatively honest, actually. What did you see in Pro-Am, Casey? Did you see that?
Yeah, definitely watched Pro-Am. Good race. Kind of dries out towards the middle, but I think Bryce made a mistake. I think he over jumped one of the back tabletops, because I actually seen a picture that he posted, like his whole nose was blowing apart.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I believe that came from that first moto. Zach actually got around Bryce and they rode nose to tail for a few laps, and Bryce ended up making the pass back and kind of dropped the hammer and separated himself a little bit. Not without challenges and not without, Zach Decker really stepping in there. Aaron Salinas in the first moto really stuck in to those guys really close for a while.
Okay.
Like the racing was intense in that class, and then it kind of opened up, midway point or so, and then kind of, got stagnant a little bit. And the second moto was sort of much of the same. Those guys, I think Bryce just come out, dropped the hammer, and kind of scored it away 5-6 seconds away from Zach initially, and then kind of just maintain that gap. And towards the end, I believe it got down to about 4 seconds or so. Zach kind of had closed in just a little bit, but I think that was just kind of Bryce pacing the race and finishing it off. Salinas with a very, very strong third. Blair Miller, first moto, was really solid in fourth place. End up OJ in the back table, like massively, like 30 feet past. I think he just brain farted or something.
Okay.
Been his bars down around his gas tank. Ended up shutting the quad off, and so kind of took his day away and took the wind out of his sails for the weekend.
Okay.
Jack or Joe Chambers?
Ooh.
He should be on the results there.
Joe
Chambers. Yeah.
Yeah. Joseph.
Dude, this kid's real deal. I don't even know him, but he is flying, and he comes on like the last 4 laps of the races. And so he was really impressive to watch both days, pro sport and then pro-am on Sunday.
He got a podium. He got a podium in pro sport, right?
Yeah. And he was flying, but it was like you wouldn't even see him kind of on the scale there for a little while, and all of a sudden 4 or 5 laps to go, he started putting in a charge and working his way through. And he was impressive.
Yeah. So I know he got hurt last year, but coming into the year, I was kind of paying attention, because I know Gloop at one point had posted a video of him at Decker's place, just flowing, like looked like Wimmer or something, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was kind of keeping tabs on him, and yeah, he's a fun rider to watch. Looks like he's doing really well. Those classes are so fast there. So yeah. So what about our buddy Mitch? He got hurt, right?
Oh man. Yeah. On Saturday, the second pro sport moto,
Yep.
the first turn went hairy down there.
Okay.
And a bunch of guys got together and end up, unfortunately, I think for the sport and for Mitch himself, broke his tib fib. Dude, as tough as nails, started his bike up and rode to the ambulance. Didn't jump off his bike and crappie flop. Fired his bike up and just rode straight over the ambulance. Was like, hey, my leg's broke. Like, I didn't even know anything had happened, and I was riding up to the starting line to go talk to someone up there, and I seen his parents down by the ambulance, and so I'm like, oh man. And I knew a rider was already hurt, Mitch's son. So I'm like, it's got to be Mitch. And then, obviously I didn't see him in the pro sport race, so I knew something had happened. So I stopped, and they're literally cutting his pant and cutting his sock off, and he's like grimacing in pain, and he like looks up and he's like, hey buddy, what's up? And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, dude, I'm praying for you. I'm such a bummer. And he's like, yeah, it's definitely broke. And I'm like, hey, at least you're tough, dude. And he just kind of smiles and like leans back, and he's just like, another day. Like it was so bizarre. And I'm like, hey, shoot me a text, keep me updated on everything. And I sent him a text Sunday and just said, hey, we're thinking about you. We miss you out here, so and so forth. So he texted me back. It's on the phone that I'm on right now, so I can't read it, but he gave me a quick update. They were almost home like Sunday morning.
Okay.
They just packed the motorhome up, and his father and mom and everyone went to the hospital. He got done there. They did the x-rays and everything. They set it into place so it was straight.
Okay.
And then they were going home, and he was going to go see a surgeon there and I think get it fixed up at home. So he's pretty tied to the medical community around him. I believe his mom is a nurse. He's a therapist. Yep. So they have some heavy ties into that. So I'm sure that's why he made that decision, is to go to somewhere that he's very comfortable. And it won't be too long. I think we see him back out there again.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously respect with the story there and his toughness and all that stuff. Prayers to Mitch Reynolds for sure. Yeah, it sounded like tib fib and some kind of dislocation there. So he'll have to heal up. But yeah, I'm sure I would expect maybe he's going to be at the races, doing the Moto Church thing and whatever, who knows.
Yeah.
I would assume we'll see him at some point, but yeah, thinking about him for sure. So last thing I want to touch on this whole deal here is when it comes to everybody being up in arms about Bryce Ford racing Pro-Am. We've touched on this before. I thought we maybe would have kind of silenced it by now, but plenty of people are talking on the internet. Other Pro-Am riders are talking about it. One group that has nothing to say about it is anyone that's ever lined up in the pro class. Take that for what it's worth, but this is what we've always done. I know you and I, Casey, we talked about this last time this topic kind of came up. I raced Pro-Am throughout my entire professional career, and I'm no Bryce Ford, but Jeffrey Rastrelli, when he was in Pro-Am and racing pro at the top level, he was in Bryce's shoes. Josh Upperman was, Ronnie was, the list goes on. I mean, do you have any last words to hopefully put this thing to bed, or what do we got to say here?
I mean, all he's doing is, trying to better himself. And in the process of doing it, he's bettering riders like Zach Decker, Blair Miller, Aaron Salinas. All these guys are getting better because they get to see firsthand on-track experience with a guy that's very capable of podiums in the pro class. And so, I mean, there's really nothing necessarily wrong with it in the process. So, I mean, just kind of leave it alone. Mm-hmm. If you guys don't like it, beat him. And then he probably won't do it anymore, because no top 3 pro guy is going to want to go down at Pro-Am and get beat. So you have one way to silence it. Mm-hmm. Beat him.
Yeah. Yep. And
that's pretty simple.
Well, and all those guys, all those kids, they want to be pros. Like that's their goal. That's their goal probably in the next couple of years, to kind of see that firsthand, to ride with that speed. It can't hurt. And we're talking about Pro-Am, right? We're talking about the pinnacle of the sport. We're talking about, there's only one class faster than Pro-Am, and you can't run from anybody at the top of the sport either. So
Yeah, exactly.
I said this last time. I mean, I would have loved in 2012 to not race Cody Gibson, and I would have won a number of races that year. It's not that different. I don't know if we're going to see Bryce out there at every one of these races, but it's not that different. And I do think it's honorable of those guys to admit that Bryce is searching a little bit. He's trying to find his mojo. He's trying to find his confidence. And we know Ford Brothers Racing values this move because they saw Cody Ford find himself last season after we saw him start running Pro Mod and winning races over there. So we know that this is a valuable move, a valued move from Ford Brothers Racing. And there's no malicious intent here. You know, he's not doing anything wrong, and he's still a teenager racing kids his age. I don't think anything really more has to be said. It's not that big of a deal for all the people that have all these terrible hot takes. I mean, it's made Bryce Ford a polarizing figure at this point.
Yeah. And I think, it's a good way to test if you are looking for a setup, or, it's another gate drop with, a bunch of really fast guys. So in reality, he's using it for testing in so many different ways. If he's out there trying to find different setup, like something that, they can kind of gamble on and go, hey, we're going to try this today, where necessarily it's not going to hurt you in your pro points, which is obviously his main focus. That's why he raced Texas and Pro-Am, and then didn't race at High Point in Pro-Am, and then he raced here. Like, they're testing in certain different things or whatever. I don't know if they really are, but I mean, it's another gate drop with fast guys. If you want to make some, setting changes to your machine and go test it on a national track that is been ran over a bazillion times by other national caliber, racers, that's the best way you can do it. And you get pretty close to 20 minutes. You get 40 minutes out of doing that, and you can learn a lot can be learned from it. So, a lot of these guys, if they have it in their budget or whatever, should be racing. We've seen Michael Perkins race on Sunday also, and, he didn't win, or, he didn't beat Zach or whatever. So, for him, it's got to hurt on the inside. He's a pro.
Yep.
So but, I asked him, like, you're going to race Pro-Am? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I haven't gotten to ride as much as I need to, and I haven't gotten to ride on tracks that are at this caliber. So I'm going to go use it for seat time and go out there and ride and get 2 solid motos in. And he's kind of racing his, entry back into shape, and riding is what he needs to do. So, hats off for him, even though, at the end of the day, it had to kind of bruise, it's going to bruise your ego a little bit when you get beat by a couple Pro-Am guys. So that's the risk that you take going out there, but more guys should do it. I think, there's a lot of guys there that can race that class, and, would find some success, maybe find the little things with getting a good start and realizing, hey, I am still fast, or whatever it is. So, yeah, I mean, put it to rest, guys, like, here's what it is. You're not going to change it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I wish some more guys would jump in there. I think it'd be good for the class. It'd be good for the precedent. It'd be good for some of those riders. Outside of that top 1 or top 2 tier. And I guess I hate to use those terms. I guess some guys have taken offense to it, or some fans or whatever, thinking I'm calling these pros, second tier or third tier guys. It's not really the case. That's just how we break down.
No, we're just reflecting back to the fantasy. Like,
well, and not only that, but the groups that the riders are in. Like, what do you want me to call them? Group 1 and group 2, whatever. They're all top tier guys. They're the world's best ATV riders. So that's beyond the point. But those tier 3 or tier 4 riders, in my day, those guys raced Pro-Am. That's what we did. And
Brett Music, Brett did it for years and won the Pro-Am championship while he was still racing the pro class.
Right. Won the Pro-Am championship while I was beating him for rookie of the year. Like, it was in Sean Taylor, and like I said, Ronnie and Tim Detling. And there's tons of really good guys. So I just wish more guys would do that, but that's enough on all that. Any other amateur racing standouts that you saw this weekend that you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Like Aaron Salinas, super impressive.
Man, we had him on the show last week, and that is a great freaking kid.
He is his entire family. I mean, that whole TDR team, everyone over there, JP,
Yep.
The Fur had a fantastic weekend. I think he won both overalls in both his classes. Yep. And the impressive part for me with him was they've had so much rain down where they live in Texas that he really hasn't ridden at all since Three Palms. Hey, and so he kind of came straight off the couch.
This is the crazy thing about Christopher Parrish is he still looks like he's a mini rider. He's still just a little dude, and he's winning the B classes.
But he's stacked. Like he's shredded, and he's he works out, and he's doing all the right things, and the program behind him. But Aaron Salinas on Saturday, I mean, compared to I didn't get to see him at Texas. Obviously, we all know of the big wreck at Texas, and he was kind of the spotlight ragdoll through the middle of that wreck. And
from High Point.
Yeah, from High Point. And then but at Texas, he rode really well, but he lost touch with Zach real quick. And so just to see the improvement in two races later to where on Saturday, he was really close to Zach and, actually battling with Zach on Saturday in Pro Sport. I've not stopped thinking about I can remember when he was riding 70s and he kind of really didn't even care or didn't want to ride, and just seeing where he's at right now. There's so many of these guys that I see that. I mentioned Parrish. Logan Sandfield had a really solid day.
Yep.
I think Logan gets a little better start. We're going to see him running closer and in that top 5.
Yep. Because it seems
so many guys.
It seems like with Logan, he's kind of been getting some bad starts and racing forward, and then some of those guys that he's racing against are getting good starts and falling back. Maybe I agree 100%. Touching on Logan there, I mean, when he gets a start, I think he is going to be in the mix. Right around that top 5.
Yeah, Mason Jackson. So incredibly bad luck weekend for him.
Okay.
Had some motor failures, end up having to borrow, and this kind of goes back to my impact moment of the weekend. This is part of that could go into that part of that story. Is his bikes were all broke, in a panic, needs a machine. Lane Baird pulls his 250 out. They throw Mason's number plates on it. He jumps on and goes straight to the track on it and goes straight to the front of the pack.
Oh my gosh.
Another spot of, look at these guys, look at what this community is willing to do for each other. Here, take my full-blown 250 hybrid, no questions asked, go. And then now he has to race it the next day too, because you can't not race it, if they fixed his machine, so he has to go out there and races it. He ends up winning the overall on it. I think it was the only overall he ended up getting a win because he had failures in his other classes or something. The 250 class just continues to impress me so much. So many classes are just fire. WMX, Maddie Trower led for quite a while. Andrea had an issue. Neve had an issue right out of the gate. Andrea had an issue 2 corners later. And those two come through the pack and end up finishing 1-2. But the experience Maddie Trower got, there's a couple other girls and their names are just slipping my mind at this time, so I do apologize. But they got the experience running up front in that class, so I think that's only going to drive them.
Yep.
And continue them and building their speed, and they're getting to see certain things. So all around, I'm really happy with the entire way the weekend went. I think from start to finish of the weekend, it was very, very good weekend for everybody.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see all the incredible racing out there, over the last, I'd say, handful of years. You could go online on any one of our, and when I say our, I mean ATV Racing's, kind of any name a media source, could hop on one of the ATV Racing media sources there, and you could find somebody Debbie Downering about the state of ATV racing or whatever. And that's 100% 180'd. It's inversed itself this year, where the last couple weeks I'm seeing people saying, wow, this is shades of 2010 again, or 2008 again. When we're talking about the heyday of ATV racing, the numbers, some of this young talent coming up, all these things, it seems like it's finally coming around, and the racing is incredible. And I think that, the state of ATV racing seems like it's in a great spot. I've been preaching that for years now. But I think it is more than ever right now. And that's a great thing for all of us that, make our livings this way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the racing community is great right now. People are getting involved. A lot of guys that are either like my age group or say maybe just a little bit younger. They went and got married and stuff, and so they kind of had to step away. Mm-hmm. Well, now their kids are old enough that their kids are starting to really enjoy it and like it, so they're kind of getting back into racing. And so now, instead of it just being them, now we got another entry because maybe one of their kids is old enough. Like the Shadows from Connecticut. I mean, they're traveling all over the country and they're bringing multiple entries into it. And, they've always kind of just done New England ATV and just kind of kept it to like that scene up there. And now they're moving full national series. There's a lot of new faces that I see at the races, and I love it because it's, obviously it's new people to meet, and I like that part of it. And then just seeing the crowd thicken and the talent pool just continue to get deeper is incredible.
Yeah, I love to see it. On that note, Casey, let's wrap this thing up. We want to get Jeffrey in here to talk about his unforgettable day. One final note, Sunset is coming up next, Chad's backyard. Sounds like you're taking Joel Hetrick, so I won't ask you about that, but give us a rider to watch at Sunset Ridge. Does anybody come to mind right off the top of your head?
I'd keep an eye on Wesley Wolf, Max Lindquist.
Max, that's my guy.
I mean, it's kind of easy, especially going off of. But I think Wesley found an inner something this weekend. But yep. I mean, it's still, that group is just a toss up. If I was going to go outside the box there and go into, let's just go amateur wise, because I think we could talk about those guys more. I would say Dane Molander is going to be one that's really going to be good to watch. Another one in the 250 class that's really good to watch, and I don't know him at all, but I just watched him this weekend quite a bit, is Joey Norris.
Okay.
Dude, the kid is on rails. I mean, he really, really is the real deal. Those guys are flying, and he's right there battling for Moto wins, battling for overalls. And same thing. I mean, there's so many guys that I could go on and on about guys to go watch. Like I could literally just sit in the stands and watch races all day long.
Right.
Because the talent is real right now.
Yeah, for sure. Saw Joey at High Point, and I was pretty blown away on how fast he was going. A couple riders, like you said, amateur wise, I think JJ Launderville is somebody that we're going to have to watch. Obviously, he wasn't there this weekend because he was at his sister Lily's graduation, it sounded like. But he's going to be a guy to watch because he's up from this area, practices at Sunset from time to time. That's going to be a guy to watch. Wesley, I do think I'll touch on Wesley in the way that each time out this year, he's shown that he's not the same guy. I don't know if it's a more focus on motocross stuff, if it's JH's program, whatever the case may be. Wesley's stronger than he's ever been. That's been impressive. Can't refer, don't want to offend anybody by calling that grouping the tier 2 grouping there. But Wesley is proven to be kind of at the top of that pack. That's been impressive for him. And Max too, like I said, coming from Wisconsin, doing a lot of laps at Sunset Ridge, and he's been solid, so it's not like he needed extra motivation, but coming off kind of a crappy weekend at Aonia, I think Max is going to be a guy to watch there. That's the first guy that came to mind when I thought about rider to watch at Sunset Ridge. Probably going to be Max Lindquist, and he's going to he's going to want to put that thing up front. I told him after a crappy weekend, I checked on him, make sure he was okay. And then I said, well, it sounds like Sunset would be a great place to grab your first podium. As we creep up on Redbud, Casey, you said that Max would get his first podium probably before Redbud. I think that Sunset would be a good place to see that happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and he's going to be fired up, and talked to his dad after qualifying, and he felt like Max was a tick off this weekend. Okay. It wasn't right where he has been in the past weekends, and then obviously the Moto scores don't really show where he would have been because of
obviously not,
a failure and a crash and stuff. So but he's going to use that for motivation. Yep. He's very headstrong, so he's not down in the dumps. I did get to talk to him a little bit on Sunday, and he was just fine. But even in the pro stock class, watching him ride, he didn't seem quite his normal self. So maybe he just wasn't jiving with the track this weekend, or whatever it was. So yeah, he's definitely going to be one to watch there at Sunset, and kind of having that in the sense of you guys up there, that's your guys' place. A lot of you guys go ride there because it's 5-6 hours away or so, where there's not a ton of other tracks. But a lot of the places that you guys ride up there, I know Baja, there's a few different tracks. I don't know all the names, but are really sandy and kind of similar anyway. So it's gonna be a good test for him. And he better prove me right on my prediction with him, because I think he definitely can do it. There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully you take the time to actually head over to atvfantasy.com to pick one of these guys to lead your Digging Deep ATVMX fantasy team. That's what we're hoping for. But yeah, Casey, I appreciate all your insight, especially not being at this one. I value your insight, your opinion as much as anybody. So I really appreciate the time and love all the knowledge that you have to share. Always a pleasure having you on the show, pal.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, and I hope this reaches everyone's families in a good time, and well wishes.
Yeah, heck yeah. Thanks to, before we get you out of here, thanks to Impact Solutions too, for supporting us. And Casey, we'll see you in a few weeks at Sunset Ridge. I can't thank you enough for a great conversation.
All right, buddy. I'll be there.
You're the man. That's Casey Greek, brought to you by CST Tires, shop.csttires.com, who's just racking in these wins now with Joel Hetrick. The CST takeover is unstoppable. It's the real deal. And Casey, thanks so much. We'll see you soon. We'll get right back to the show, but now a word from our sponsors. And thank you for listening to these ads. Without these great companies, none of this would be possible. Show your support for the people who support us. Welcome to the team, two-time champ Joel Hetrick, who dropped the biggest news of the offseason when he announced his move to CST Tires. The CST takeover has been gaining momentum over the past several seasons, and now Joel Hetrick and his Phoenix Racing teammate Jeffrey Rastrelli are the most recent additions. The Pulse MXR tire has helped lead riders like Thomas Brown to race wins and 3 consecutive Quad Cross of Nations titles, Nick Janusa to the Pro Class podium, myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to back-to-back national championships in the Junior 25 Plus class, and the most recent additions have us thinking a Pro Class national championship is on the horizon for CST tires. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, myself, and so many others are believers in CST tires. Are you? CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. You already know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast. Whether it's second all-time winningest, 7-time and reigning ATVMX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, or 6-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFC 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This unprecedented success for the YFC 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undeniable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has created a Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Better yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and even stronger for 2021, meaning Yamaha riders are about to cash in on higher payouts and more prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFZ 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. Ssi Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI Decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and, oh yeah, 6-time NHRA World Champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI Decals, making your identity stick with championship-level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their range of championship-winning chains. Powered by technology, DID chains are designed to give you the greatest strength-to-weight ratio, making them the optimal chain for racing and giving you a championship-level edge. DID has been driving championship-winning race programs since 1933, chosen by champions such as Chad Wienen, Joel Hetrick, and myself, Cody Jansen. Champion above the rest is DID's 520 ATV2 chain, with those same design principles and materials being used throughout their entire line of products, including their on-road category as well. Pick up a DID chain today at your local dealer or a reputable online e-tailer. DID, what drives you?
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Numira's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances, and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Numira's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.numira.com. Numira Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV Components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high-quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
As the number one podcast in ATV racing, it's only right that we partner with the industry leaders in suspension tuning. Insert Impact Solutions. Impact Solutions is a full-service ATV and side-by-side suspension center specializing in the revalving and service of your motocross and off-road suspension. With over 25 years of elite-level knowledge, experience, and testing with riders of all ages and ability levels, Casey Greek, Jay Goebel, and the Impact crew strive to exceed clients' expectations for service and setup. Impact Solutions is the official Elka Suspension Service Center of the United States, offering unmatched product knowledge and experience. Whether you're in need of service, parts, warranty, sales, or technical support, Impact Solutions has you covered. Head over to impactsolutionsatv.com or give them a call today.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The following message is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The Manscaped engineering team has outdone themselves this time, creating the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, now available for purchase in the US and Canada. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, with this exclusive offer of 20% off and free worldwide shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at Manscaped.com. I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0 and I am blown away. This thing is next level. What sets this trimmer apart from all the rest? The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. It features a new multi-functioning on-off switch with travel lock for those of us who like to travel. And my favorite, the new trimmer allows you to customize your trim with 4 different guard lengths, an upgrade from its predecessor that only featured 2. If you're listening, you know that good tools are a must, so wait no more to get the best tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com by using code DIGGINGDEEP20. The Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades, supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2021's impressive lineup includes Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli of the Phoenix Racing Team, myself, Cody Jansen, and my back-to-back national championships, Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Janusa, Wesley Wolf, and many more, including all of the top 14 GNCC Series pros, led by the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, and Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or message the show for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. 15 years into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back with us and continuing to make huge waves in the ATV world. For the second consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for some of the fastest riders on the planet. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to Factory43ATV.com to see their full line of products available for all makes and models. Want to be just like Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli riding with Factory 43's industry-leading products? Head over to Factory43ATV.com today. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC has been supplying riders with aftermarket components from the industry's top brands for over a decade. With over 80,000 products in stock for your ATVs, UTVs, metric and HD motorcycles, dirt bikes, and snowmobiles, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC can tend to all your powersports needs, from hard parts to riding gear. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads also offers hard-to-find used parts for your vintage dirt bike, ATV, three-wheeler, or snowmobile. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for 10% off of orders of $100 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Thank you, BTQ LLC. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider-owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the concrete division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to laundervillesteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. Thanks for listening, and remember to support our partners. Now back to the show. All right, guys, stoked to talk to this next guest, brought to you by Ssi Decals, making your identity stick with unrivaled championship-level graphics, decals, vinyl, and more. Check out SSI's new and improved website today at ssidecals.com. Fresh off the 20th Pro Class podium of his career, help me welcome back friend of the show, Mr. Jeffrey Rastrelli. What's up, buddy? I said it the other day, and I'll say it again. I hope you're still riding that natural high from returning to the podium on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a really good day, man. A really good couple motos for me, and feels like I can stand up straight again because I got the monkey off my back. So, and it feels really good, and I'm glad to talk to you about it. It's going to be a really good episode, I think. Yeah,
for sure. 20th career podium. We've been kind of monitoring that on the last couple episodes, kind of talking about it a little bit. I feel like we felt like it was coming. 20th career podium. It's got a pretty good ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. But that would sound even better as 21.
There you go.
But so that's always the next step. But yeah, man, it's a really good number. I didn't really know how many podiums I had until you told me. So yeah, it's a really cool thing, really good fact to know. And I'm looking to, by the end of the year, maybe I think, what is there, 6 more rounds? Maybe have 26 of them. So
there you go.
That's always the plan once you get one again. So that's the next goal.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's got a good ring to it. That's for sure. So, 763 days had passed since your previous podium appearance. And I feel like for most of those 763 days, that weighed on you more and more. Was there ever a time where you thought that you'd never make it back here?
I'd say how I felt fitness wise and body wise. And sometimes I couldn't, tell you in particular, but, of injuries, of course, of last year and stuff. Yeah, there was always times where I thought that maybe it wasn't coming back. Like I was done, I was a 5th, 6th, 7th place guy, but I kept digging, kept searching for things, doing a lot of research on different things. And I found something that's been working for me. So I'm only getting better too. My training level is going up. So I'm really excited to, see what we have next round on the sand, especially because I've been training in the sand for 6 months at my house. And it's just coincidence that the best race of the year that I've had is on the hardest back track, one of the hardest back tracks we've had all year. So,
right.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing the year out and see what we got for sure.
Yeah, and more than anything, it was more like not that I thought you were going to cruise around in 8th or whatever for the rest of your career, but it was more like maybe you were going to step away. Cause I know that there's been plenty of times over the last handful of years here, or I shouldn't say handful, but the last couple of years, there was a time here or there where this shit had just broken you, So,
absolutely.
to see you get back to where you are now, I think it makes as a fan of yours, as a friend of yours, it makes it that much cooler to see where you are, that much special to see where you are. And for you, it's got to make you appreciate it that much more. So I'm glad that we didn't have to cross that bridge and wonder what if you would have walked away prematurely or whatever. But you returned to the podium at Aonia Pass. And I told Hogue on the last episode that I thought you quietly had a really strong day at High Point. I think you were scrappier than we had seen you in a while. And then this weekend, it's like you even grabbed another gear. You seem stronger than you've been. And I thought on Saturday, we saw that already in qualifying. It was like you just, you kind of looked like you grabbed another gear, like I said.
Yeah, man, the fitness level is really what made me be able to grab another gear. Like I haven't been feeling strong on the machine and been able to do what I want on it. So, I was kind of just out there holding on and hoping for the best. But, since of what I've changed, I mean, my fitness has gotten so much better that I go to the track and constantly worry about my technique and what, my momentum in the corners and being able to be stronger to hang on to make that momentum through the corners, go through there harder and just different things that I've been concentrating on when I go to the practice track, and honestly been enjoying it because I feel so good. Just training wise, just from day in and day out to start to finish, from running to going to, training camp to riding, everything's been really enjoyable because I feel so well and so, so fresh all the time. My body recovery is really quick and I can just keep doing what I'm doing, and it's been really, really fun. And, that's been it really. It's just made me mentally strong, to go and I showed up at the race and I knew almost like I felt it before I left the house for some reason. Like I told my family, I said, this is it. This is the weekend. Like I know it is. I don't know why, but I kind of felt it before I even left the house. So, like you said, it was just a really good weekend, man. And I felt like I was honestly, if you want to be honest, stronger than I've been. And even my last podium year in 2019, I feel like I'm stronger than I was then right now. So
sure.
This year's going to be really, really good. I'm glad I figured it out now and it wastes half the year. At least I only wasted, 2 or 3 races, I guess you could say. So, yeah, man, it's going to be fun for sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, what a fresh breath of air, just to kind of put all that stuff to bed. As we're watching everything go down on Saturday, I couldn't help but think back to last year, and you and I mean, we probably sat there and BS for an hour about how good you felt and being on the Phoenix team and how, how great everything, was primed to be. And then, it was like, that's when everything went to shit last year. So it felt like, man, we wish you could almost, it was like, it was a year later or whatever, but to finally see it all come together was special. And we know how gnarly that 3rd to 5th, place and beyond battle has been this season. It's been an absolute brawl. You've been in the mix of it every race so far. And in Moto 1, you clawed your way, up from 5th to 3rd, but lost it with a couple laps to go there. What happened? Because with 2 or 3 laps to go, you were up to the 3rd spot. And then it looked like maybe you got bounced off the track or something. So tell me about that.
Yeah, me and Bryce got together a little bit. I gave him the line. It was kind of my bad. I shouldn't have gone to the line that I did. But the inside was getting a hole on it. So if you didn't hit it just right, it really cost you time. So in the previous laps, I felt like he was weak there, and so was I. So I went to the outside, and he just so happened to hit that corner just perfect, because he knew he could get me back there if he hit it just right. And he did. And he was getting back by me and kind of came over on me. I thought we were going to clear, but my front tire hit his rear and it just, immediately shot me right off the track. I almost wrecked. It was kind of crazy. And then got back on the track and Wesley and Bryce were back in front of me. And we were having a little electrical issue. We weren't really sure with what it was. It was making the bike cut out a little bit and it was losing power. So it was like backfiring and things. So I was trying to catch those guys, but I wasn't able to do it. I just wasn't able to pull it off. And the whole moto, I was behind Nick and Bryce, and I tried for 20 minutes to get around those guys. And I finally did. And a couple laps to go, it went to crap. But, I battled the whole time, and I was funny. I was behind Nick and I was giving him the rev box coming into corners and stuff. I'm like, come on, move, It was a fun day. It was a fun moto, believe it or not. I mean, even though I had finished 5th at moto, it was fun. I actually enjoyed the racing with those guys, and it was clean. And we just raced hard. It was a really hard battle, and those guys held their own. There's no doubt. Bryce put all he had into that moto, and but I felt like my recovery was so good for Moto 2, and maybe those guys weren't, that I was on another level as well.
Yeah, so that grouping there is just so gnarly. As a viewer, it felt the same way, that you fought your ass off for that whole moto, got into podium position there, and then saw it all go away. But no matter what, I thought it was promising because you're moving forward late in the moto. You've been touching on your training, so that all makes sense now. And that's a hard thing to do, moving forward at the end of those races after wringing yourself out for 20 plus minutes, and especially against the that fast group of guys there. You ended up 5th in Moto 1. What did you see of that battle right in front of you on the final lap there, that line that Wesley took? Talked with Casey about it a little bit. Tell us what you saw from that line that Wesley Wolf used to get by Bryce. Do you have anything to say there?
No comment. I don't want to start anything because I don't dislike Wesley. I like him. I race him. We race hard, we race clean. Yep. But I didn't agree with it very much. But how Harv said it, it was his bad. So if that's the case, there's no track markers, then and it's his bad, I guess. I mean, we were all taking the line, because we knew that I don't think that was the proper line to take. But he got away with it. So I guess it wasn't as bad as we all say it was.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't trying to get you in trouble there. I know it was controversial, but just wanted to see what you saw there, at least, because you would have been right.
I didn't totally agree with it. If that's what you're asking, no, I didn't agree with it, but that gave me a little more motivation to go into the second moto, because he was 3rd place right behind me for most of the moto, and yep. I'm really dug deep to make sure that I pulled away from him, because it kind of frustrated me. It really did, that I worked my butt off that whole moto to get around those guys. I guess you could say clean, in the race line, and then he does that, late in the moto and catching us by doing that. So it is what it is. But like I said, it gave me motivation for the second moto to go out there and try my best to beat him. That was about it. That's all I took. I took motivation about it. I didn't go to Harv. I didn't go to anybody. I took it personally. That's what you had. To me, I'm a competitor. So at the time I took it, that's what you had to do to beat me. Just wait, buddy. Kind of thing. Like, that's how I felt when he had to do that. Then I'll find more speed. And so I don't have to take that line. That's how I looked at it that second moto. And I did. I caught another gear, even the whole moto. So I actually picked it up at the last couple laps there. I actually picked my times back up. So he can be upset at me, but I think he knows just as well as anybody that I don't think it was the best line. But it's over. It's done. I beat him the second moto, so that was the goal, and we did it. So that's that.
Yeah, there you go. So let's kind of move on then. You were right in the mix in Moto 1 there, so I'm sure you were pumped up for Moto 2. Just like you said, you were kind of motivated by an array of factors there, and I bet that you were over the moon when you came around the first turn, and it was just Joel and you and Joel 1 and 2 there. I have to believe that you were pumped up at that point. That had to be a beautiful sight to see you and your teammate 1 and 2.
Absolutely. And the first moto, it was super, super wet pretty much for the first 12 minutes of the race. So yeah, I went through all my tear offs, and I literally pulled my last tear off when I passed into third with Bryce.
Okay.
I'd never use all my tear offs. So I was eating mud the whole time. So I knew the second moto that I had to get a good start. Like, that was a necessity, because I believed I was faster than Nick and Bryce the first moto, but I could not get around them. So I just knew I had to get a better start than them, and I did. And I actually seen Chad and Joel have the contact. I saw like the whole thing happen like next to me.
Yep.
And it was kind of a crazy thought, now it's definitely just me and Joel. Chad's not right here too, so it was like, hang with him. That was all I could think, was just hold this sucker wide open and go with him. And that's what we did. Me and him just 1-2'd when checked out on the field. But Chad Weenan, of course, and put in a good charge and at the end of the race. But it was an awesome feeling riding with Joel and getting out there with him and pulling away from the field was really good, and hanging with him was another good feeling for me, to not get absolutely smoked by him, with me and him going 1-2 on the start, and him not pulling 30 seconds on me was very very, very gratifying for sure. I should say.
Yeah, for sure. So I was going to ask you about that, what you saw in the first corner there. You touched on that already. So I have to believe, you're sitting right there behind Joel, and I have to believe that you're already thinking possible podium at that point. So is the thinking just sprint and stick with Joel for as long as you can, and that's going to help you kind of distance yourself from the rest of the field?
Absolutely. I saw him, and he was close to me for a long time, and I knew I had some good lines. Like, I was flowing really good around the track the first moto, and I knew I had way more speed than I was able to get, because I was kind of, no offense to Janus or Bryce, but I feel like I was held up a little bit. So I that second moto, I let it all hang out, and I had the fastest guy right in front of me to see what he was doing. But I was honestly taking different lines than he was. So it actually was kind of cool to see that, I wasn't doing exactly what he was doing and just keeping up with him. I was actually making my own lines and taking my own way around the track and doing it too. So that's just, it was a really good feeling for sure, to go out there and ride my own race, but to hang with the champ, the ex-champ and stuff. And I think there was one line that I think I maybe even could have stayed with him more, the big triple. I was going on the outside before the big triple every lap, and I should have hit it every lap because I had the speed. I felt it, and I just never did it because I didn't want to bend an axle or something if I came up short. But
sure,
I think I actually had a little bit there too. But, just one of them things, risk over reward. I didn't know. I didn't want to biff it. I was in second and pulling away. So, I throw it away. So, it was a good moto for me, a good moto to hang with my teammate, and good for the team, man. It was really good. And, the whole team was stoked and everybody was really happy. So, it's definitely, like you said, a big relief off my shoulders and stuff. It's just been a long time.
Yeah, I don't blame you for making that executive decision there. And yeah, so you clung to Joel for the longest time, kind of like you said. You rode an incredible race. You find yourself having to ward off Chad Wienen late in the race, though, nearly an impossible feat. Obviously that's not something that anybody has to do very often. So take us through the final stage of that race there, and take us through that last corner, because if Chad gets you, you can say goodbye to your overall podium. So tell me that story.
Yeah. So Jim, my mechanic, Jim Hardy, and Gary, Joel's mechanic, they were hooting and hollering and made sure I knew that I had to finish second to get on the podium. So they were pumping me up, man. And like I said, the fitness thing was a key factor. Was a key factor in that second moto that, I knew he was catching me because he was on a vengeance. He made a mistake in that first corner, and he did it. So he had to make up for it. And he was really riding good. And I knew that I had to hold him off. I just had to keep riding my lines and riding my race. I knew that there was the lines I was taking, that there's no way he could pass me if I hit him right and hit him like I was all moto. And I just kept that in my head. And all day, I've told Jim and all day to don't put anything else on my pit board other than like practice, because when I go to the practice track, I ride really good. I have no pressure. I have nobody, to worry about. So when I go to the race, I think that sometimes maybe I get too jacked up and too worried about trying to go faster. So all day he put that on my pit board, and that was all I could think about all day was, the technique and hitting my points is just all that crossed my mind every time I came across the track, so
sure.
Every time I came across there, I didn't really make mistakes all race. Like I really made really, really minimal mistakes. So I think that's what paid off. Even being a little fatigued at the end, I didn't make that big mistake and cost me a second or two to be able to pass me.
So I feel like too, and so many people out there, amateurs and just weekend warriors, will be able to relate to the fact that when you're practicing, you ride differently, your arms feel different, your mental game is different, everything is different when you're just practicing. So that's really interesting that you kind of wanted to keep it simple and just make it feel like you're at the practice track, just another day, kind of in a race situation. Then when you pull that great start in the second moto, it's probably a whole lot easier to feel like it's a practice day. Like you're just out there riding with Joel, and you're able to kind of fly in formation, try to keep pace with him and kind of do your own thing. So I think that that's something that we can see going forward a whole lot more if you're going to get starts like that. But okay, so tell me then about that final corner, because it sounded like you had to, be really calculated with what you did in that final corner to hold on to that podium spot.
Yeah. So it was interesting because I was taking the outside line before the little tabletop into the last corner, and
Yep.
it was really smooth, and you can hit it really fast. And I think Chad took it too, but I'm not positive. But he was right on my tail, and I heard him. But I went to the inside line. I knew that if I went to the inside, there was no way he could get by me. It was impossible. But he tried to stick it in there anyways, and I understand, because that was a points lead, or not getting the points lead taken away from him was that position. So he went for it, and we kind of I think he kind of hit me more in my Nerf bar with his front tire. So I like kind of climbed up on his bike a little bit, and like when he hit me, like it knocked my hand off the bar, so it kind of stopped me, so it didn't hit me over the berm as if I was gonna. I think if I accelerated when he hit me, that I would have kind of popped over the berm and he could have got me. But I kind of knocked my hand off the bar, and we were just sitting there, and I get back on, and I look back, and I'm like, oh, like, okay. And I pinned it, burned out on his bike, and it came off of it, thankfully, and didn't get tangled together too bad. And yeah, we came across in second. So it was awesome. And I don't know, it was, it sucked that he caught us at the end of the race because of the deficit that he had, but he was riding a good race. So I was just glad and fortunate to be able to hold him off and get that podium spot. That was all I could think about. I knew I had to finish second. There was another lap, and I was going to give it everything I had, 2 more laps, whatever. I would have hung it all out there. I wanted that so bad, and been waiting so long for it. So, I was put in the position to do it with my start. So it was all up to me. It was up to nobody else. So I knew that. So like I said, the whole practice thing, was the biggest thing of the weekend, I think, as it has started in qualifying. I said, if you're going to write anything else, write underneath there. I said, I don't want to see anything else. Just telling you my position in practice is all I want. And I just all day I worried about my technique, where to stand up, where to sit down, all those different things, where you kind of, when you go to the race, you're just worried about just going as fast as you possibly can. And sometimes you lose touch with that technique and those things that you learned so much during the week doing, that you go to the race, almost forget them because there's so much hype, so much you have to go as fast as you can, and this and that. When at the practice track, you're going as fast as you can, but you're doing it, fluently and with technique and in the right way, instead of sporadic and where it wears you out and different things like that. So that was, I think, the biggest key this weekend was that in particular.
Absolutely. It makes so much sense. Had he moved by you there in the final corner, you did what you had to do. I too was like, man, don't let him get this close and then not have him get the podium spot. So you can ask Brooke. I was fist pumping. I was so stoked for you when you got it done there, yelling at the top of my lungs. Love to see all the emotion after the race. What were you feeling there? I'm assuming it was the emotion.
Relief.
Yeah, the emotions of, thinking your career maybe, could have been over at some point. There was times where you considered walking away, all the struggles, rehabbing injuries, 2 years of fighting your ass off to get back up there, I'm sure is what it felt like.
Oh, it was, I can't explain the feeling, I don't know. I lost my voice a little bit because I screamed so much the rest of that day. And just coming off the track, I was just screaming the top of my lungs, like you said, just in the excitement, just to see that all the work, not just me, but me and my wife put in. My wife's one of the biggest parts of this. She's my nutritionist. She's my, cooks all my meals and everything with our, we did a big change in diet, and she has to prepare everything. So she's just day in and day out grinding just like I am, just in a different way, and she's also taking up the exercise thing with me. So we're exercising together a lot. And man, it made it so enjoyable and wanting to do it more because she's involved with everything, that it's just everything in life, man, right now, like you're saying, like we said before, it's just like I've talked about it before in this podcast, it's all good because it's all coming together so well. My, fitness and training and nutrition and, my diet and riding, and that Yamaha, that Phoenix Racing Yamaha YFC 450 is just off the charts right now. Like people are going to be in trouble. We're just progressing each race and getting more out of it, and progressing the bike and shock changes, and Elka suspension and Impact Solutions has that thing so dialed that these guys are in for a heck of a long year for sure. So especially after the first one under the belt, and that's all I can think about. So that's just day in and day out. That's all that's on your mind. It's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. to hear all the things that are coming together behind the scenes. It makes so much sense as to what we're seeing on the track. 2 years later, I have to imagine, that time away from the podium made you appreciate it that much more. That togetherness with you and your wife, all that is so special. Just being, all in on the team. And so you're battling none other than Chad late in Moto 2. And as I'm watching that go down, I'm thinking about 2007, little Jeffrey Rastrelli in Illinois to train with then an up and coming Chad Wienen, who had just signed with Factory Suzuki. Kind of a crazy thought when you think back on it, isn't it?
It is, man. It is crazy, and it's crazy. It was, at one time my protege, he took me under his wing and was my protege. And it was just, it's kind of crazy now, battling him at the end of the motos, it's like, so what you always wished for, it's what I always worked for and what I always dreamed of. So it's nice, but I beat him and all, but you always want to take the next step and beat him both motos and do it straight up without him having an issue. So, of course that's the next step. That's what's next. And, but like I said, I think Chad has respect for it too, because we go that far back, we go back to my early career when, I remember us back as far as 2000, I think it was 2006 at WPSA, before it was like the real deal. And we were changing some handlebars on a Z50 of mine, late at night, at like 9 o'clock at night. Me and him were changing some handlebars on my pit bike and stuff. It's just, it's kind of crazy to think about where we've gone. So
it's crazy.
It's pretty cool to me.
It's crazy to think that was 14 years ago. And I was so pissed back then, Jeffrey, that my rival was spending time with my hero. Just imagine a broken-hearted little Cody back then. That's just,
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy.
So you get this podium. Tell me what that's going to do for you and your psyche going forward. I have to believe it's almost like getting your first career podium all over again. Kind of confirming,
for sure.
kind of confirming that, hey, I can do this,
Yep, I could do it again, and that was a big thing. Coming back. I was back Sunday at 5 o'clock, and me and my wife immediately went on an hour bike ride when we got back. I'm full of motivation right now. There's nothing. It's like nothing I've ever, I haven't felt in a long time, I should say. In 2019, of course, I felt it. I wanted to win, of course, just like any other year. But now to get that off the checklist, to move on to the next point on the checklist is a big relief and a big, like a big monkey off my back for sure. I feel like I kept making the analogy, like I could stand up straight again. Like I was, I feel like had all this weight on my shoulders, just with everything, your family and my wife, you want to do good for everyone. The team, the team invests so much in you. I have, I'm so fortunate to be on that team, because there's not another team like it in the series, and to put the work in and put them on top of the box or on the box, just like me, just like it is, it's exciting for them, just like it is for me. So, that was like, that weighs on us person as well, to have this big deal. And I'm on Phoenix Racing ATV, and I'm supposed to be getting podiums and excuse me. And, I haven't done it. So, that was just, all that pressure is off. So everybody's super stoked, everybody's, looking for the next one too. So everybody's happy. Everybody's had good vibes. The next race will be like that. So I think it'll be even easier to have that atmosphere. Like everybody knows that I could do it now, and everybody's happy. And like, oh, we do have a podium in sight. Two of them, two of our riders can be on the podium. I think it's going to be even easier. So I think after that first one, it's just like it's just going to keep progressing.
Yeah, for sure. So that you could feel that dynamic change, I'm sure. And you could feel it mounting recently. I'd been picking you in Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy. I picked you at High Point. I could just feel the tides turning. And I was stoked to finally see it happen. I think we're surely going to see more of it to come. I was feeling that before I even talked to you here. Now to talk to you and all the things that are going on behind the scenes that are so good, I think it's a no-brainer. So is there any chance, in your opinion, that this is the best you've ever been, Jeffrey? Because you've battled for podiums for many years now, but the class is so good right now, and those top two guys are far and away the best they've ever been. I think that's obvious. I would argue that this is the best you've ever been. What would you say
right now? Right now, how I feel physically.
Yep.
Like just body, like sitting here talking to you, you know, I could just, I feel like I could wake up and go do whatever activity that's put in front of me and it won't faze me. So, that's like the biggest deal for me. And yes, I'd say fitness wise, I'm the best I've ever been right now. And that Yamaha has been working really good too. So the combination of the two, it makes you work a little less hard, not having to fight that rear end of that Honda. It was a little bit not in our favor. So just to fight that, you know, I have to fight the bike as much. And, you know, I figured that bike out a lot. So now it's so easy to ride. And yeah, I'd say I'm probably right now, I feel like I'm the best I've been, but you know, I got to back that up and at Sunset and say, yes, it is the best I've been, and show them, you know, and get on the podium again and show them that I'm the real deal. And it wasn't just that one moto fluke, you know, that I got third or second in that moto because Chad, you know, wrecked on the start or whatever. So I'll go there and hopefully show these boys what's up, because in the past I've had really, really, really strong rides there. In 2017, I almost won both motos. I led a majority of both. I think at least the first one I led probably 20 minutes of it and got past with 2 laps to go. So that's good vibes going in there as well. So yeah, it's like mentally and physically the best I've ever been, I'd say.
I agree. And hey, those CST tires, they're like the cheat code. So that doesn't hurt.
Absolutely. Either. No, yeah, no doubt. And I can't thank them enough for the support and for what they've done. Not just the Yamaha or Elka suspension. I mean, they're definitely a big part of it too. Like we were it's fun fact, the second moto. So we were so rushed with doing bike things, trying to figure out the little electrical issue, that we didn't change tires. So from the first moto, our tires were like pretty smoked, like, cause they're really hard. I mean, really soft compounds. So
and it was hard.
They were a little bit, you know, the edge was taken off, because that's a long moto on the hard pack on those soft tires. And we didn't have time to put new ones on. So we ran those the second moto, and you've seen the results. I mean, those tires with wear on them from the first moto, and we went 1-2 on those CSTs the second moto, and it was just unbelievable. Like I even gave them crap on the gate, like messing with Jim and Gary. I was like, man, you guys couldn't even fit time in, put tires on my bike, you know? And it was just like, it was kind of crazy that I said that. And then we go out, rip, you know, 1-2 on the start and just say later to everybody that's running, you know, every other tire. So yeah, definitely the cheat code, I say for sure.
Yeah. So, and it's so funny because I tell people, I'm like, man, they can look smoked and they still
work amazing.
Yeah. They still work. They still get a bunch of traction. So
it is crazy.
It really is. So, and I remember it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about the CSTs almost before you had gotten on them or whatever. So that's exciting to hear. And yeah, so we're obviously, you know, we're stoked to have finally seen you return to where you belong, back to the podium. And we look forward to watching you continue that momentum into Sunset. Another track that, like you said, it was something that I had kind of made a note here too. I think that that Walnut Sunset there is a track that really fits your strengths. And I had, you know, kind of some memories in my mind too, that, you know, you had some strong rides there over the years. So I feel like you're getting hot at just the right time, and can't wait to, you know, have some more of these conversations after, you know, more podiums here in the future.
Absolutely. It's really exciting for me, Cody. I'm really excited to go to that race in particular. You know, I just really good vibes there. For some reason, my whole career, I've done good at Sunset, the track's always different. And even sometimes the track surface is always different. Yeah. But for some reason, I don't know if the vibe of the track or just I don't know, man, I've always done good there. I mean, even I'm the best place I hole shot. Like, it's really weird. Yeah. My whole career, like 2010 in Pro-Am, I didn't hole shot one race all year. And then I got 3 out of 4 hole shots that weekend at Sunset. It was just, in my whole career, it's been like that. I had a broken back in 2018 and I went there and I yanked the start. I was like, what? I can't even ride and I'm yanking a start. I'm like, what am I doing? Right. But just for some reason, that place has always been good to me. So like I said, I'm just super excited to get it going and back to the racetrack. I really wish it wasn't a 3-week break, because I'm ready now, you know. So the 3-week break's just going to let me get better. So I'm excited for that as well, even though I'd like the race back this weekend, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to use that 3 weeks, like you said, to get a little better and bring your best to Sunset Ridge. We can't wait to see it, buddy. Awesome stuff. Great job again. Thanks so much for joining us. I absolutely love having you on the show here, and we'll see you in Illinois. Okay.
I appreciate it, Cody. I appreciate you having me. Always a pleasure to be on this podcast with you. You guys do a great job, and looking forward to being on here after sunset, and we could talk a little more about podium finishes, and that'd be good with me. We'll see you, buddy.
There you go, buddy. Thanks so much. That's Jeffrey Rastrelli, brought to you by Ssi Decals. Go check out SSI's brand new interactive website today at ssidecals.com. Great job, pal. Congrats again, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Cody. Have a great one.
I don't know about you, but now that we've relived all the craziness of Aonia Pass, I'm wishing Sunset Ridge was tomorrow. Can't freaking wait. Major thanks to tonight's guests, podium finisher Jeffrey Rastrelli and Impact Solutions Casey Greek. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother. Thanks to Brooke and AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to our sponsors, CST Tires, shop.csttires.com. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Impact Solutions, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bike Strikes and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATVMC banner for all your gear and parts needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including Digging Deep shirts and hoodies, our Quad Guys Get Hot Chicks shirts and hoodies, back-to-back national champ merch, and more, all available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help support us, visit our website and click the Buy Me a Coffee button. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to help us out. You can call our voicemail line anytime, 920-569-3519. And follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content, Digging Deep ATVMX fantasy info, and more as racing continues to heat up. A reminder that lineups do not roll over, so head over to atvfantasy.com to select your team and lock it in up until 1 hour before Moto 1 at each and every event. Congrats to our event winners so far, including Billy Cottage, Michelle Grant, and Steve Brower, who all tied for the top spot at Aonia Pass. And I shouldn't say all. Of the 200 people playing, 3 people took the top spot. It's pretty incredible. We have some exclusive prizes shipping soon to all of our winners. This has been so much fun. We just can't thank you enough for playing with us, everybody that is. As for the podcast, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, our new show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com, so check that out today. Be a friend, tell a friend, please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. I believe we'll be back for another episode before Walnut, probably a sit-down with a blast from the past rider, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. And with that, for Jeffrey Rastrelli, Casey Greek, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV racing, 2 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. See you next week. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quad dudes are freaking gnarly.